Hi, this is Alfred Weaver, Professor of Computer Science at the University of Virginia, and it's my pleasure to be the co-guest editor of our special issue on gender diversity in computing with my co-guest editor, Dr. Jane Prey at the National Science Foundation. For this interview, our guest is Dr. Alice Bonhomme-Biais. She is a software engineer at Google in New York. And Alice, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Let me jump right in and ask you, why do you think diversity in computing is an important topic?
I think computing needs diversity, and I'll explain why. When you work in computing, you work in solving problems, in discovering new technology, and I strongly believe that your own personality impacts a lot the way you look at a problem, the way that you approach a problem and find solution. And this is why collaboration is very important. You can have individual people having various ideas about a problem, but once they come together and they brainstorm and they work together, very often they come up with a solution that none of them did come up with individually. But if all of these people are very similar, from a similar background, from same universities, they might not have the same diversity in terms of ideas on how to solve a problem. And I think this is why computing can benefit a lot by having more diversity, having people looking at the problem from a different point of view, a different angle. However, how do you get more diversity in computing is one of the main issues. Because you could tell me, I have this team of 15 engineers, and if we talk about gender diversity, you can say they're all men. And if I just add a woman in there, then I have some gender diversity, I'm going to have maybe some new ideas, and the problem is solved. It's not that simple. I think one big issue about gender diversity is also making sure that everyone in a group feel at ease and feel like you can perform and do your best. Let me give you an example of why this is not always so easy.
Yes, please do.
I'll use my own experience. So I graduated from France. I studied computer science with a master, PhD, and postdoc. And so I was used to be either the only woman in a group or one of the few women in a group. But that was never an issue for me. I always had a lot of fun working with people and doing some research. Later on, I moved to the US and I joined Google. And a few months after I joined Google, a colleague of mine came to me asking if I was interested in going to this conference for women in computing. And that was the first time I ever heard about a woman in computing conference. It was the first time I heard about gender diversity. And so I was surprised. And my first reaction was, why do we have such a conference? I was pretty critical. I didn't understand why we would need a conference only for women and why there was some diversity efforts around women until I went to the conference. So I went there because I was curious to know what it was. And I arrived, and it was the first time in 30 years that I got with a group of women, all discussing technical issues. It was a lot of fun. But what I realized was that the way I was behaving within this group was a bit different than how I was behaving at work. In particular, I felt much more open to share my ideas, much more open to jump in discussion, to ask questions. Whereas sometimes at work, I would have a little bit more self-doubt. If I had an idea, but I was not 100% sure to know every little details about it, I would not share it. And this is not good for innovation, for computing. And going to this conference, realized that there was some environment where I felt completely free to share everything, where all of these self-doubts went away. And that was a big revelation for me. So I tried to take that energy that I had by meeting all of these women and take it back to work. And it helped me tremendously. It helped me in being more performant at work because I was sharing more openly some ideas that I had. It helped me making career choices, taking more risk. And I think being exposed to just to the concept of gender diversity and exposed to my own community helped me be at the same time happier and at the same time more performant in my work.
Wow, that's quite a story. Thank you for sharing that. So you've got this personal background that you've just explained, but I want to drill down about your place of work, Google in New York. What has Google done to help achieve diversity in the workplace?
So Google is doing a lot of things, and one of them is to support women that are in engineering to be exposed to this conference, for example, for women in computing. They are very supportive about the ideas of gender diversity. So I go very often to this conference called Grace Hopper Conference for Women in Computing. We have, for example, some weekly lunches with other women. There's a lot of internal discussions about performance, career management, but we also do a lot of outreach efforts. For example, in New York, there's one particular event where every year some women engineers from Google get together with professors and students from NYU, Princeton, and a few other universities, and we all get together at NYU, and we host about 200 girls from high school to show them how computing is fun and to expose them to computing to see that if they would be interested in studying computer science. And so we're doing a lot of things to try to get more girls interested in computer science because we need more computer scientists.
That sounds exciting, and I applaud you and Google for making that special effort. You've told me a little bit about your personal history there of why you think computing is important, so I'll move on to my last question, which is asking you to look in your own crystal ball and make an estimation of where do you think we'll be a decade from now with regard to gender diversity.
So last year, I went to a conference in Abu Dhabi. That was a conference for women in computing in the Arab world. There was women from the industry and from academia joining that conference, and it was very interesting to see how it was in different countries. And I was surprised to learn that in a country like Algeria, they have about 50% of women studying computer science, which when you think about the number of women that are studying computer science in the US or in some part of Europe, it's much lower. So seeing that in some of these countries, you can reach 50% of women studying computer science, for me was very hopeful. Some countries can do it. So I really hope that soon we'll catch up with Algeria in terms of number of women studying computer science. And then from there, gradually, and I think in a natural way, we'll get more women come into the industry as software engineers or as researchers.
Well, you have educated me. I had no idea that Algeria could achieve 50% women. It seems like, yes, we have some catching up to do in the Americas and in Europe. Alice, thank you so much for taking the time to have this interview with us. This is going to help illuminate the article that you have in the March issue, and we sincerely appreciate your time and applaud your efforts both personally and those of Google. Thank you.
Thank you.